Hello, folks. First, I'd like to apologize. I try really hard not to make this a political channel. I want this channel to be about my music, my cool Chinese guitars, my cool Chinese family, and the beautiful area in which I live here in southern China. However, I am getting more and more frustrated with the wealth of misinformation that's coming out there. And the fact that people don't seem to understand what due diligence is anymore. And it's not that difficult to do. For example, there's an American named Dr. Adrian Zenz, I guess if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who went from, there are 1 million Uyghur Muslims in prison in Xinjiang province in China, to 2 million, now it's 3 million. So I said 3 million Muslims detained in China, so I thought, okay, I'll look it up. China's entire prison population, according to outside sources, is 1.5 million people. 5 seconds. Totally debunked his claim. Like that. Doesn't take long. It's not that hard. You got to use this thing here. But people are so willing to blindly believe an anonymous government official, unnamed sources, who present absolutely no proof of what they say. Like the Russians are paying bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan. Well, that wasn't even the claim. The claim was that it was NATO allies, so not specifically Americans, but all. And the Taliban has done it for free for 19 years, and suddenly they want money from the Russians. The American government cannot find any documentation supporting this. So there's no available proof, just an unnamed source who heard it from a guy he was probably torturing. But it's a fact now. It just drives me absolutely nuts. But what I wanted to talk about was the national security law in Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong has a law on their books which they have refused to enforce, dealing with foreign interference and domestic terrorism, and they're doing nothing. So China said, well, look, Hong Kong is part of China. We need to come in. We need to deal with this. You have terrorism in the streets. Just got to stop. All countries have national security laws. Hong Kong right now, they have 1. Australia has 2. UK has 3. Canada has 5. I'm looking at them. USA has 20. Espionage Act of 1917, Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938, Alien Registration Act of 1940, National Security Act of 1947, Central Intelligence Agency Act of 1949, blah, 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 blah. 20 of them. So, it's okay when you guys do it, but not okay when China does it, or anybody that's just not your buddy. It's ridiculous. Also there's a thing, there's 1 case of bubonic plague in China. And in America, in 1 state, they have about 17 cases a year. But China's bad, America's good. And it's nuts. Now, this is not something that just spontaneously began. This is foreign-funded interference in another country's domestic policy. That crap got to stop. And that's what the national security law hopes to do. The Chinese government held 12 different forums asking for thoughts and opinions on the national security law. 3 million Hong Kongers came, discussed, and signed support of the national security law. Hong Kong's entire population is 7.451 million, so I guess about 40% just showing up. Like, you have to leave your house. It's not like they asked every single person, right? So support is more likely much higher than that. The Hong Kong protesters have set fire to an old man, beaten old women, stabbed police, done all kinds of property damage. There was one, I think, yesterday where a guy tried to run over a bunch of police with his motorcycle. This is terrorism, folks. Hong Kong police have killed zero people. Zero protesters have been killed by the Hong Kong police. Can't say that in America. I think last week was 17. So it's absolutely nonsense that you won't see what's around you, but you would rather project onto somebody else because then you can blame something else or someone else for your problems instead of trying to fix them. So it's just insane. America has come out and said we have frozen $2 million in assets that we were sending for the Hong Kong protests. So they've got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. That's the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Spark Alliance, a very mysterious group. I was unable to find out anything. Everybody says we have no idea who sits on the board of this. It's a very mysterious organization. They had $10 million seized by the Hong Kong police that was trying to funnel out to protesters. They also had $70 million seized by the Chinese government for money laundering. So, lovely group of people, obviously. The National Endowment for Democracy, another lovely group there, isn't it? Have been paying protesters minimum 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. And the more violence you do, the more they'll pay you. And I believe they also, it was suggested that they paid $500,000 Hong Kong dollars if you can do a lot of damage and kill a policeman. So it's quite obvious this is foreign interference in an attempt to destabilize China. So this is outside. Get your hands off. Get your hands off all these countries. America has about 1,000 army bases all around the world. I think Russia has 1. China has 0. Come on. Just nonsensical. This information is really easy to get if you want to get more specific. I'm just tired of the nonsense and the irrational hate and the passing off of conjecture as fact. This is the game they play. We're going to put up something that's clearly false. And it's going to go out there, and we're going to leave that for a little while, and then we'll quietly retract it and say, oop, we were wrong. But by then, it's implanted itself into the minds of millions of people who now believe this to be true. Due diligence, people. You got to use this thing. If you see something, check it. Because, especially in America, they passed a law that said that the media is allowed to lie to their own people for national security reasons, which is very sort of mysterious, amorphous kind of thing. So it's like whatever it is, it can say national security, and then it's like, okay, we're just going to tell a bull-faced lie and have everyone believe us. You got to use your brain. You got to do your due diligence. Hong Kong needs some controls. It needs the terrorism to stop. Then China will come in, and like they've done with the whole rest of the country, they will alleviate poverty 100%. Because that is one of the serious problems in Hong Kong, is that a lot of elderly just have not enough money to live. And there's some very rich people. So it's sort of that Western capitalist thinking that's created this, uneven structure where a few have everything and the many have nothing. Sort of like we're seeing in America right now, which is why the people are brightly upset. Besides the fact that, black people get killed on a daily basis, indigenous people, it's a hot mess over there. And leave China to deal with China's problems, and whatever country you're in, leave your guys to do their problems and get out of it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and there's my light going again. So that's my 2 cents worth, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Feel free to comment. Don't hate. Feel free to disagree. That's okay. But it's absolutely insane how people believe that they can just interfere in other countries' business. The West has no say in what happens in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is part of China, and China is trying to deal with the problems that are happening in Hong Kong right now. So let them do their thing. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not your place to dictate to an independent country what they should do. So that's my feeling on it, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye for now.